I'm Nico! Hi, everybody! Welcome back to a wonderful review of a wonderful Precure episode 29. This was a good episode. We immediately start off with Nico's egg hatching, wasting zero time. The squad comes out, we all wake up, we all go see this egg in the wee hours of the morning, which shout out to everybody, like, you know, just responding very quickly to the egg hatching. Like, everybody kind of woke up, minus Daifuku. Everyone wakes up, we go see the egg. And also, waking up somewhere else may or may not be our villain, but I'll get to that in a bit. Honestly, this whole sequence was just, like, really pretty. The music was very dramatic. Like, honestly, this just was a delight to watch. They really upped the ante for the reveal for Nico. Like, it's just so cute. And here she is. I mean, like, I kind of felt like Mei. I'll be honest, I had seen her design prior, like, months ago. I had seen her design. And I guess just because it was, like, this typical kind of character sheet design, she looked kind of boring, if I'd be honest. She was just like, ah, it's a unicorn, yay. It's always nicer to see the design on screen, because her design actually is really, really cute. I'm actually very fond of it, as well as the fact that they make it very specific that she is the diamond unicorn. Not just a unicorn, she is the diamond unicorn. And, like, Miss Man watched a few episodes of Bridgerton, it sounds like. And of course, our little girl is a Kira girl. I swear, I don't think I know a singular Nico in any anime that is chill. All of them are like cutesy idols that are also like the biggest divas in the world. Like, this must be some kind of homage to Love Live. I can just feel it in my bones. And she just keeps going. Like, she comes in like, I'm Nico! Hi, everybody! Yeah, honestly, it's kind of refreshing. This is not my favorite archetype by any means, but I feel like we have had a lot of like god-esque characters that are more often than not very cool, like collected, very professional, very ancient, very demure, very mindful. And this girl is a hoot and a holler. She is just 1001% all of the time. And we finally get to see that rage that Mei has alluded to many times. He is like, Nico-sama will kick my butt if I step out of line. And true to her form, she is incredibly— I get why Mei is the way that Mei is. As Mei, like, I feel like Mei could have said anything, but he very casually is like, yeah, Iroha's parents! No, I'm like, Mei, some things are best. Like, he's like, because he tries to back it up. He's like, it's fine, it's cool, you know, because they're Precure. They're allowed to know. There was no excuse for any of the parents knowing about the Nico garden and stuff. Like, Iroha's parents are literally a kitchen with giant windows away, witnessing all this happen. Thankfully, the mom is like, yeah, we're not gonna interfere with that. We're gonna let that battle fight itself. And ma'am, we stand intelligence. We stand reason. I love that Satoru immediately came to Mei's defense. He was having none of that. He's like, Mei is so responsible. Mei tries so hard. Oh, Satoru. Coming in to save the day like multiple times over. I also think it's very interesting because this will probably be more relevant next episode, but there's definitely a level of Nico being like, ah, yes, I'll introduce myself to the animals. I care very much about the animals, but is like, it's a bit more subtle than I thought it was going to be, but Nico is very dismissive of the human, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that whole thing. But I do appreciate that Yuki is like, I don't really like Nico-sama, because Yuki can tell that Nico-sama doesn't really care for Mayu or Iroha, and mostly Mayu, and Yuki's like, I'm not about that life. Mayu is number one. So I'm actually very excited to see Yuki. I want to see Yuki fight Nico. That's like the one battle I'm here. I'm like, that's right. Tell Nico-sama that she is wrong and that Mayu is the best. I want to see that. That's the cattiness that I want. That's the juicy fight that I'm here for. And then also we get the whole bit about like, I love that Nico phrased it in such a like, I'm your boss way, where she was like, Mei, what is that object on the ground? And he's like, well, clearly that's the Nico trunk. And then she's like, oh, is it the Nico trunk? Is it the Nico trunk? We don't give the Nico trunk to people. That's for emergencies only. Like, she has, like, evil boss manipulation. It's funny now, but I feel you, May. Like, she could have very easily just said, hey, what's the Nico trunk doing here? No, she was like, what is that? Is that the Nico trunk that we're not supposed to be giving out to this whole dynamic? This is gonna be funny. It's gonna be funny, but it's also gonna be a little bit real. And then we head to the garden, and we really drive home, like, as if in case we were not quite sure what her whole thing is. It is being an idol, because she does not roll in the garden and they're like, oh yes, Lion King moment, let's all bow down to Simba in the sky. This is a moment where she's like, hey everybody, I'm your favorite idol, Nico-sama, I'm back. And then with like a little love shower pitch here with the hearts. Girl put on a whole show. I'm surprised these animals don't have like a bunch of pin lights hidden somewhere in there. Like they were ready. Like honestly, this has been probably one of like, this episode has some good plot twists and I enjoy, because we were getting the sense like as we got warmer and warmer, we're like, oh, Nico-sama, is she a little diva? And she is not a diva. She is the whole idol industry. And then there's this smug look, like, like I can't tell if I hate it or I love it. Where Iroha asked the very reasonable question that no one else is asking, which is, hey girl, hey, what happened that fateful day in the Nico garden where everybody turned into Garu Garu? What happened that day? And she's like, oh, you want to know what happened that day? You want to know? I bet you do. This is a very smug look for somebody who's about to describe the darkest day in their kingdom's history. I also think it's gonna be so funny as this goes on, because at the end of the day, Nico is completely unaware that Komugi does not really care. Like, Komugi has grown to care about the conflict at the Nico garden, but Komugi really at the beginning only was doing it because it's what Iroha wanted. Komugi was like both the animals are like, it was whatever it was for my owner. I did not start this, and I'm not finishing it for you guys. I'm finishing it for my owner. Iroha has really been the pinnacle, and to a degree Mayu as well, have been the pinnacle and lead of like, we should love other animals and we should unite the world. Because like at the end, well, I'll get to it. We'll get to it. I'm getting ahead of myself. We do have my other favorite plot twist from this episode, where we explain what occurred in the garden, which I think is for the most part what most of us expected. We have our evil wolf guy that we learned about fairly early on when we saw that one silhouette, and we're like, he's the guy who did it. We theorized it's likely due to the wolves being extinct from when we watched the Tanabata episode, and that what he probably did was just turn them into monsters that are supposed to fight against humanity and force them all with his unusually strong evil powers. I hope they explain why he is strong, because there's no reason why this man is running around with like significantly stronger powers than everybody else, especially Nico's. But we do get the reveal that in an effort to save the animal from their evil form, like I assume that the whole egg situation was like to try to put them inside an healing concealed egg, but they all start to turn into Garu Garu eggs nonetheless. The evil power is so potent that it's going against the shield. Like this, it's supposed to be like essentially a healing container that got contaminated. And I honestly think this is a brilliant plot twist. It also makes sense why Nico-sama ended up turning into egg. And like, cause we were all like, what's Nico-sama doing in this fancy egg? I thought the eggs were evil. The whole concept of the eggs ends up being a good guy thing that just ends up getting manipulated by you. Like this was a good plot twist. I think this, at the end of the day, I thought whatever this backstory was going to be, it was going to be fairly boring. I thought it was just going to be pretty straightforward. Evil wolf who hates humanity turned all the animals into something that could fight humanity. The end. But I like that Nico's effort in all of this was turning everybody into eggs and trying to save them. So we never get to the point of like what then happened to Nico-sama other than she realized that she wasn't strong enough, which again, don't know why she's so weak. Minced devilish diva idol over here. Why are you so weak? Why can't you stand up to our evil guy? Why is he so insanely powerful? Like, what's up with that? So I wouldn't be surprised if Nico-sama explained the rest of this story in the next episode, which is going to pull into what I think is going to happen. But again, I'm once again getting a little bit ahead of myself. We do have the reveal, though, for what's up with our Wolfman and why he hasn't really been here for the duration of the first half of this series. Like, you know, we just had the garuing, but they weren't, you know, being successful. There's clearly some kind of confrontation that continued after what Nico had just explained, in which he and her went head-to-head, and it left her turning into her crystallized egg form and him having to go sleep, because that's what he did. He ultimately exerted his energy and he was like, screw it, I made enough garu and they can go do what I need to do. They should be wreaking havoc by the time I wake up. And then he comes to the revelation that he is awakened, and all of the garu that went out at the beginning did absolutely nothing. They've all been returned to normal. And he's like, I don't feel the misery of humanity happen. And I think that's smart. I think the way they introduced this was smart. At the end of the day, I have not been like the hugest fan of them delaying it, but I'm glad that they're doing it now and not in the last 5 episodes of the season. I'm happy to have it at the halfway point. I think it was set up well, and I think they gave us enough crumbs in the first half to not leave us completely confused. And so usually at the halfway point we do get big revelations, so this is pretty on par for like the average Precure season. We're kind of going back to the basics. I think they did the same thing kind of in Go Princess as well, and we've built up to this, and this perfect, and I think a good enough explanation for me as to where he's been and why he hasn't been involved. Like, we've known he's been at this mysterious somewhere in the area shrine, slowly like just being like evil in the corner, but technically speaking he's been sleeping, which also probably explains why he had his sad howl that appeared in Kamugi's dream, because I think all that has been most likely facilitated by the Mirror Stone, but it seems that they have the ability to connect their dreams and interact through dreams, so that might come back. That might have just been a little bit for that Anabata episode, but either way, it's been a good setup, and I've appreciated what they've done, especially in the last few episodes. And of course we get our lovely villains. We have, which I'm still a little confused because I've seen mixed things about what's going on with these guys. I think this is just supposed to be an homage to lion dogs, because the position that these two sat in, and they had been to this point, have been lion dog statues that were sitting out in front of the shrine, or at least had the same function as a lion dog statue. I don't know if they're supposed to be lion dogs because they're technically part of the wolf pack, and some of the languages said that they got turned into some of the languages said that they've gotten turned into wolves, implying that maybe they before. The lore on here is a little murky. I think they're doing a lot of things at one time, but I'm gonna take it as of right now. I think what is going on is that these two are part of the wolf pack. I'm gonna go on a limb and say they've always been wolves, from what they say in the episode. They're part of his wolf pack. He has used his great, unusually strong power of an origin we do not know to resurrect them from the dead, and the whole shrine thing is supposed to be a wolf version of the typical shrine with, like, you know, lion dogs and all that, because he's like, I like that the aesthetic for these guys is traditional Japanese garb and stuff, and like have a little bit of that like Japanese Shinto myth aesthetic to it. I think it's cool. I think it's unique. We've had seasons where we've just kind of mishmashed different things to represent the organizations. Like, you know, we got Doki Doki where they had the 7 deadly sins and like hell be kind of a theme. You had Healing Good where they were viruses. Like, I think this having a little bit of a traditional mix to it is interesting, especially since so much of them being these extinct animals that are taking revenge against humanity, and that has sort of the ancient Japanese ties to it that it does. I like it. I like it. It also keeps it separated from something that they have to be making homages to, which is Tokyo Mew Mew. There's so many similarities in this whole episode to that I feel like this is just one big homage to Tokyo Mew Mew. Starting with Zakuro, we have Zakuro. First of all, her name is Zakuro, just like Mew Zakuro. And oh my god, she's representing, like, you know, they're talking about an extinct animal and also having like a little bit of a wolf thing. Like, that's crazy. It's crazy that a gray wolf named Zakuro, that's so crazy that we're having a little bit of an homage to that. Totally not anything to do with Tokyo Mew Mew. And then we have Todome, who, I'm not gonna lie, he's also giving some Tokyo Mew Mew vibes, if you know, you know, as our other, like, cheeky villain. And both of them have, like, pretty strong personalities right outside the gate, which I really enjoy. I think that's been one of the best parts of villains historically in Precure, especially in, like, the 2010s era. There was so much personality, and I'm so happy to have it back. I also like that we don't have too many. I think some seasons just give us a lot of generals that it gets kind of overwhelming, and you don't feel like you feel like we just kind of knock them down and they get back up. So having just 2 of them, and also the fact that they're currently working in a pair, they may just go into the individual thing later down the season, but it's 2 and we have time to get to know them, and out the gate they feel very distinct from one another, both design-wise and characterization-wise. And we just have our 2 cheeky little villains come to add something to the story, which is great because they do immediately counter the sentiment that the series has built up so far, which is no fighting. And these two are like, what are we, 5-year-olds? We're gonna fight. There will be fighting. We will, like, we are here to kill you. Like, we're ready to take you guys out. Like, we're not nice. We're not here to be nice. You're not gonna purify us, though. Absolutely are going to get purified by the end of the season, trust and believe. But they also, oh my god, we start off with Torome having his bank. We have his little stock footage moment with the Garu Garu egg, which looked pretty good. Like, this was well landed. I was like, I forgot that you guys get these nice little stock footage moments, but it's nice to see them back. Like, it's so cool. I love, again, the very traditional thing. The flame itself looks very much like the more traditional depiction of fire in a lot of, like, older Japanese art. I really love that. I love the color palette because it's got the Gao purple mixed with his signature yellow. It's so aesthetically pleasing. Sorry, I'm just having a little art moment. I also like that Nico is in this scene, but she does not say much, and that there's good reasons for that. She will have a lot to say next episode. But for the most part, these two are explaining that we're the big bad, we're here to cause problems. Also, they have no understanding of what's going on. They're like, we don't know what a Precure is. We have no understanding of a Precure. Like, the concept of ancient Precure seems to be a borderline non-existent thing in the show, which I kind of like. I'm assuming, mostly because of the summaries, that Nico will probably explain a little bit of what Precure is and its relation mostly to the Mirror Stone, because the Mirror Stone, at least in this series, we do have confirmation of what is giving them their powers and what's... So the Mirror Stone / Nico Diamond is going to be probably a big topic, and we're going to spend the first half of next episode explaining what's going on with that. But she's not fighting them at all. She is not sitting there countering what they're saying. Clearly, Nico does not want what is happening to her Nico Guard animals to be happening, but she's also not got a lot of words to say against these guys, and it's probably because she doesn't necessarily disagree with what they are saying. I also just love Zakuro's expressions here. She goes from being kind of this sassy, calm, cool, collected woman who is overly in love with Gao to, like, you guys suck. We hate you. You're the bad guy. Like, there's a level of just it not being super black and white here that I appreciate. And I like that really it comes down to how Iraha reacts. Like, her genuinely absorbing what's being said and really taking it in turn, I think makes this episode for me. I also like that initially Komugi's the one who's taking this message that she learned from Iroha and trying to be like, we're all friends, we're all saving everybody, we're all healing everybody. It's about making sure that everyone's happy and having this resolve that she learned from Iroha, but Iroha is now crumbling. It's poetry. Poetry, I say. I do love that the second we get down to fighting, we have our hideous... I do not like monkeys. I will say this 1,000 times over. I do not like monkeys. I do not like primates. I'm just not a fan. She immediately comes out swinging. She's like, trust and believe. I already know how to fight. I have been fighting since the day I became a cure. I'm done. Like, you know, I've learned this whole love thing, but I know how to fight. So we see some really good fighting from everybody. Like, the choreography for this entire fight scene is nice. It's even nice to see, like, Komugi come out with, like, the paw shield and is doing her best. I also love that during all the sequence, which is just so important, and I think is going to be important for the argument we see with Nico in the next episode. The girls are trying to save each other. Like, the humans to their own pets are constantly trying to rescue them. So you have Iraha pull Komugi out of the scene to prevent her from being hurt. You see, obviously, we just saw Nyami tries to make sure Lillian doesn't get hurt. And we also see, again, that the villains are picking on specifically the human cures and not the animals, which I'm gonna just work with it here and just say that they know which one's which because they can smell them. But very, very clearly that our villains are lining up with whom they are going to not be a fan of and who is going to be kind of their enemy / rival for the season. I like this whole bit. We see that Zakuro is going to be more, at this point, looks like she is going to be more of a problem for Neanderthal, while Tomare is going to be a problem for Wonder. And again, just we're back on this whole, like, protection thing. I also wanted to note, because I saw this in a lot of these scenes, the background has this very interesting, like, line texture going on. I don't know if that was necessarily intentional or not intentional, but it does add to, like, the weird sort of, like, juxtaposition of this scene fight being different than normal. It's very, very interesting that this is sort of like this just kind of looks like blinds a little bit. Interesting thing to point out that I just kind of noticed. Our villains ultimately got a power up. They are no longer just a Garu Garu. They are as promptly named by wonderful once again. We have the Gato Gaun, and of course if we get a new villain, they are going to be stronger than our girls, which I feel like it's kind of sad because this is the first time we're displaying their strength to Nico and they immediately get wrecked. Like, even Zakato is like, wow, I don't know what the world of Precure is, but you guys are weak. Like, be so for real. I can't believe you were causing us all these problems before. You guys can't do anything. Which is honestly just lining up with the fact that we're getting a power-up in the near future. But we have this whole conflict unfold. And I do appreciate that for at least in this episode, we don't hear anything, and Miss Nico will bring it up next episode, and not this episode. I'm also like, sad to do. Literally, when they all have detransformed and they're about to get taken out by these ugly monkeys, he comes in. He's like, I'm gonna come in. This would be the moment. This would be the moment he would have become a cure if Toei wasn't a coward and had Daifuku in the scene. He full on, like, he would do it. He has the chutzpah. Normally he's a Mr. Stand on the sidelines because he's not very athletic or very fighty and all that, but he has the heart of a cure and I'm really upset about it. Anyways, moving on. Also just throwing out there that Zakato is another one of our female villain characters who's overly obsessed with our main guy. Very Shidoine. A little bit of our papiru, as it has historically gone for these type of villains. Nonetheless, things very conveniently end with them retreating to go talk to Gao and leave things as they were, and our girls, you know, revive. But we do get this very well done scene of Iroha reflecting on the fact that, hey, humans are the problem, and what are we gonna do with that? That shakes my resolve. Like, I'm sitting here trying to be friends with animals, but my kind has already decided that we're enemies. And I think this is just like an excellent way to move into evolving her sort of resolve. Ultimately, she's gonna come to the conclusion that we can all be friends. But I think her whole viewpoint being challenged by the fact that humanity has, technically speaking, been the worst thing that's ever happened to other animals, I think will just help to make it more dimensional instead of just like a silly little desire that she has, as we've seen in other seasons. And honestly, Precure has pretty much nailed this every time they've handled this. They did this with Flora and Go Princess, they did this with Hikaru and Star Twinkle, and I'm happy to see it once again. I love revisiting this plotline every so often, and I'm excited to see how they handle it with this flavor. And also just to see like Mayu be like, this is the person who has really been kind of the glue that holds the team together, the one who's always like been the person who's been advocating for the team mission statement the most. And seeing her breakdown obviously is heavily impacting Mayu. And we end with this very dramatic scene with Nico most prominently looking on in this, showing us that the next thing that is going to happen, the very top of the next episode, I bet you anything Nico is going to say the summarized things, the cold hard truths and bombs that come with the next set of the story, and how things are going to move forward, and what is going to push our characters to be like, maybe we are the ones who deserve to be the Precure. Maybe we are the ones who are the strongest and can reunite humanity with animals. And so basically this is just a part 1 for the next episode, which is going to be part 2, which is where I do have to leave you all with a little bit of sad news. I am actually traveling, so I will not be able to give out my review for the next episode. Episode 30 will either be coming out very late Monday evening Eastern time or very early Tuesday. We will see depending on what time I get back in. I am traveling to Anime NYC this next weekend. If you are going yourself, feel free to say hi. Otherwise, I will have to see you guys a little bit later next time. I'm so looking forward to just everything that is going to happen in the next episode, see the conclusion and the turning point of the series, as well as seeing what future we are going to get. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I am very excited to see you all next time. Bye-bye!